Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes, I am. How's it going, guys?
Chilling, we're chilling. Can I get your name, age, or pronouns, please?
Yeah. My name is Chips. I am 20 years old, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm a male.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
And what topic are you calling to debate about today?
So I wanted to touch on a few, but I guess the more specific one I'm looking at right now to start off is gender-affirming care for minors. I wanted to ask a few questions about that for you guys.
Yep, no problem. Gender from care, got it. Great. You said your name was Chips, right?
Yeah, Chips.
Okay, Chips and ice cream.
Like the food.
Chips, what questions did you have for us?
So I wanted to ask, when you say minors, can you specify minors? Because there's different categories. Like obviously there's the elementary kids and middle schoolers, and then there's
anybody under the
age of 18.
Yeah. If they're under the age of 18, I would classify them as a minor. Before we get too far into the call, I just want everybody to know I did hear thunder. If the stream cuts out, it's because you all know how my house handles storms.
It's because Jovan couldn't handle the conversation and ran away. Right. That's what it was.
I like that answer. I like that answer for me.
But yeah, it would just be anybody under the age of 18.
All right, sounds good. So I just want to ask, earlier in the previous debate, you said that gender-affirming care is not just emotional kind of psychology kind of affirmation, but it's also physical and hormonal, right?
Yeah, there's medical affirming
It can
care.
be, yeah.
Right, so I just wanted to ask, right, because I have my own opinions on the topic, obviously, right, I'm a human being. 8-year-olds to 10-year-olds to 12-year-olds, right? So say they hear a lot of things about gender stuff online. Obviously, kids being kids, they soak up all information. They hear a bunch of things. I'm not trying to say that they're dumb, but kids, they soak up information and they can do questionable things and they can believe things that may or may not be true later in their life. I just want to ask, right? Obviously, I believe people above the age of 15 to 16 probably have their heads screwed on a bit more tightly. I just wanted to ask, for people of the lower age range, what do you think the gender affirmation extent should be?
I don't really have
You want to answer first, or you want me to?
Yeah, I don't really have a hard line. I think it needs to be individualized. I think placing a hard line gets us into some weird areas where we're saying that certain care is okay for some people and not for others. The only thing that I would say probably should wait till you're older is any type of surgical intervention. Half of that is because you need to develop past a certain point to even get those surgeries effectively. The other half is I just think it's probably best to wait until, for me, I would say 15 would be the starting age for any sort of top surgery, and then I would say 17, 18 would be the starting age for any sort of bottom surgery. For when it comes to hormonal, HRT or pubertal suppressants, whatever age you need them.
All right.
Yeah,
so
for me,
I can agree
slightly.
With that.
For me, it's just really important to point out that because you haven't done this, but in conversations like this, and guarantee in the comment section under this video, a lot of people will talk about gender affirming care for minors, and they will jump to those extremes and be like, "Oh my God, you're talking about this doctor just with a pair of hedge clippers lopping off the dick of every kid who comes in thinking they might be a girl." You know what I mean? And it's just what's really important is that when we're talking about this, what's really important is when we're talking about gender affirming care for minors, we are talking about widely accepted clinical guidelines that are a very careful, regimented, staged process that allow these people, these young kids, to explore their gender identity, explore their gender expression, explore their lives, and learn more about the gender that they are, while also keeping their options open for as long as possible. And so this is something that would take a very long time. It's not something that you can just decide, oh my God, I think I'm a girl today. Shut me up, doc. It's nothing like that. This is something that would be closely monitored by a therapist and doctor and family member for a long period of time. And what's important to remember about it is this isn't even just an idea about this. Studies consistently demonstrate that, like, providing gender affirming care that is both age appropriate and also evidence based, which is what, you know, Jovan and I are advocating for here. As far as I know, he's advocating for. I definitely am. That actually does improve overall long term mental health outcomes. And so we're just talking about age appropriate, staged, regimented, highly monitored, long term gender affirming care that keeps their options open while allowing them to explore themselves and learn more about themselves, in order to avoid, like you were talking about, the risk of a kid making a decision that they regret later, which kids do. You know what I mean? So that's a reasonable worry to have. And that's why, you know, every major medical association in this country still recognizes how important gender affirming care is and why it works and how it works. It's because they have these staged, careful, regimented, monitored processes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. I think you're one of like the first people I've talked to who've actually brought up the fact that it needs to be careful. Because I've talked to a lot of people about that topic, and a lot of the time they just they kind of gloss over the fact that it needs to be a very watched, very careful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I don't know of any.
I
am friends with plenty of doctors. I don't know a single one of them that would disagree with that.
All right. Well, that's good. I guess, do you have any questions for me on that topic before I move on to the next?
I think we all pretty much agree on that. Do you disagree
questions.
that gender affirming care is a good thing, or like?
I think it's good. I think there's a point at which it might be too young,
Right.
and it's mostly just the factor of human issue, the human factor of that equation in regards to the adults handling the children. That's my only concern, but I think that's a concern that I can't justify, because any program that does gender affirming care, at the very least, hasn't been brought to my attention with the
Right.
with like how it actually has operated IRL. I have not seen how it works. I've not seen the effects of a dedicated, broad, large-scale, gender-affirming, like, I forgot what it's called, the situation. Yeah, that. I don't think I have.
Okay, well, it sounds like we are either on the same page or pretty damn close to the same page. So I have no further questions for you. If you want to move on to the next thing, and we can try to find something we really disagree about.
So I wanted to ask about, you said that you can choose like a free choice at 9 months. I'm assuming that is referring to abortion?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I personally would like to come out and say I personally agree with abortion for, like, I'd say up to like 6 months, 5 months, right? But I think, personally speaking, I think when you get to a point to where you could legitimately like C-section and have the baby come out alive, I think, like, obviously on life support, because it's probably going to be early, but I think at that point, then I feel like the water gets a bit muddled. Can you explain to me why you think that something that is like at the point of like gestation, like the baby's already made, it's just making some final growth moments, I guess you could say. Why you think it would be okay to just kill it?
Who said we're killing it?
Well, and that's what I see. That's whenever I hear anything about abortion, it's generally involved with the termination of the baby.
Mm-hmm. So I just define abortion differently.
So
abortion, the way I would define abortion is just the medical expulsion of the contents of pregnancy from the womb. So abortions can be done post 24 weeks and still keep the fetus alive. For instance, we can take things like hysterectomy abortions or induction abortions and just do those.
All right.
I don't personally refer to abortion as like simply killing. I don't think that actually really, I don't think that definition is functional enough for like all that can be done. So after a certain time, we can still have abortions and they just don't kill the fetus.
All right. So just a quick question. Would you consider a C-section to be an abortion by technicality?
Well, a hysterectomy abortion is like essentially a C-section. Some people consider C-sections abortion. Probably not. I probably wouldn't consider it a quote unquote abortion. For me, I would say that abortions typically should be done like prior to like natural pregnancy kicking in, or no, I'm sorry, natural delivery kicking in. But like, I'm not gonna like argue with people that say it is. I'm not gonna be like, oh no, you can't label this. Like, if you want to label it an abortion, it's fine with me. It doesn't really bother me in any way.
All right.
Yeah, I would just use
So,
the terminology that abortion is just the termination of the termination of a pregnancy is an abortion. And so like that's all that is. And so that's why, a miscarriage is also called in medical term a spontaneous abortion. So like anything that terminates a pregnancy is an abortion.
all right, sounds good. I wanted to ask, what happens to the aborted child if they are still physically capable of functioning once they are aborted?
What do you mean?
So you said, right, that because you insinuated that an abortion doesn't inherently mean the death of the child.
Yes.
Now, that would infer that the child, or a baby, whatever, fetus thing, is still alive, right, and is somehow cared for after it. Otherwise, it would just be dead anyway.
Yeah, if it's alive
guys...
and the parents don't want it, probably just go to the state. Same thing that would happen in a delivery if parents don't want it.
All right, just trying to. So, I don't know a lot about the topic past. What's up?
You're fine. I would ask you a similar question that you asked Jovan a second ago. You asked like, what do you consider a C-section an abortion? I would just for clarity, just to understand, an induction abortion is when you have something. This person's in the third trimester. You're close to the end here, and there's a medical issue, and you need to terminate this pregnancy, and so you use drugs to cause this person to go into labor and to deliver this fetus, and that is a form of abortion. Do you consider that giving birth, having a child, or would you still consider that an abortion? Because it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that is an interesting question, because you are inherently, it's going down the vaginal canal. So in all forms of like, what is the definition of giving birth? Technically, it would be it. You just kind of forced it on early, but I would also still categorize it under an abortion because it is likely to result. I don't know. I think I'd call it, personally speaking.
The point.
What's up?
No, I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off. You're at the end. Please finish.
No, I personally view that as a birth, like it is them giving birth, even though it is forced and early. Does that change the context of why they did it? I don't think so. I think it's, still a medical emergency that they forced labor to happen in order to give birth early, in order to save the mother's life, or vice versa. Right. I think it's
and so that's
what
I'm talking about here is that like that you have that, or you have like dilation and extraction, which is going to be a bit more, you're actually pulling out, sometimes pieces of this fetus, what I mean? And so like there's
pieces
differences here. Yeah, there's America's favorite candy. There's differences here, but what I'm trying to get across to you is just like when we're using these terms, the fact that an abortion is any termination of a pregnancy and birth is pooping out a baby, or maybe not. Maybe you actually have a cesarean section, have it removed that way, and there's all this variation. It's just really important to remember that these terms are a little fuzzy, and I'm trying to really hammer out what the actual concern is for you. And it sounds like the actual concern isn't the termination of pregnancy, it's the termination of fetal life. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I think my main concern is specifically once you're in the third trimester and a bit like I'd say mid-stage. My main concern is if the baby is alive. My concern is I personally don't really trust government-funded things a lot. Anti-government, yay, classic American culture thing. But I don't think that putting children in the care of state is a good thing, but I think that's a different issue, and I think I'm maybe going off topic in regards to that.
That would just be another topic.
Yeah,
like we can say that needs to be.
We can touch on
is my concern. Sorry.
Yeah, we can touch on it, but I don't know if it's useful for right now. But we can get to it. I don't want to dodge it. If we get there, we get there.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Basically,
so
my main. Sorry.
Can I ask? No, I was going to ask you some clarifying questions and see if we can maybe come
Go
to
ahead.
an understanding about the termination of life specifically. You're talking about after 6 months, we're in the very end of pregnancy. What are we doing here? And this person no longer wants to be pregnant for whatever reason. Say
Yeah.
there's a medical issue with the baby that they can't keep it anymore. Say they have a medical issue that being pregnant now puts their life at risk. Say they just literally woke up one day and were like, I don't fucking like this. And I bought a crib and I've picked out a name, but fuck it now. You know what I mean? Whatever from the most mundane to the most hyperbolic, whatever reason this person decides they don't want to be pregnant anymore. And so we're talking about now the termination of life for this fetus. That's what we're focusing on. Can I ask you some questions about that to help understand where you're coming from with that? And maybe we can come to an agreement. So we can agree, I'm assuming, that this pregnant person is sustaining the life of this fetus through their pregnancy, right? Through their body.
Yeah, of course.
My question would be, my mom has the same blood type as me. I am 33 years old. And if today I had a major problem with my blood or my kidneys or something like that, and I needed a transfusion, I needed dialysis, I needed whatever, I could theoretically go stab a tube into her arm, put it into my arm, and filter her blood into my body because we're the same blood type, and I could use her body to sustain my life right now as a 33-year-old man. The question is, does she have the right to pull that tube out of her arm and say, you don't fucking get to do this to me? Even if it ends up in me dying, she has the choice to detach me from her as a 33-year-old man. Do you agree with that?
I think at that point in age, yes.
Okay, great. So my question to you then is, what special rights does someone have before they are born that they don't have, that they lose as soon as they are born?
So I think once you hit the age of, I'd say around 18 to 21, you would lose kind of that child thing. I'm pushing the number up from 18 simply because a lot of people in general are kind of, that's a whole different question, but it's kind of like people are living with their parents a lot longer, whatever. They're still kind of infantile, I guess is the way to put it. They're still dependent, to put it that way. I would ask that, what's it called? I think once you hit 18 to 21, I think at that point, the mother and the father are no longer responsible for the child, right? The child, obviously they can start talking with the kid and whatnot about what.
So let me just
whatever.
So hold on a second. Sorry, we're getting off. We're getting off from where the point is here.
You're right.
So then take the exact same question I just asked you. No, you're fine. You're fine. Take the exact same question that I just asked you and change the number from 33 to 15. Here's a 15-year-old kid, and they have a kidney problem, and they stick a tube into their mom's arm and stick another tube into their arm, and they're filtering their blood. Does that mom have the right to take the tube out and say, you don't fucking get my blood by birth? You don't have a right over my body as a 15-year-old child, even if that results in the death of that child. Does that mother have the right to not use her body to sustain that 15-year-old?
I think that is a loaded question, but I personally am of the opinion right now that she has the necessary requirement to care for a child that she birthed and brought into the world up until, he hits adulthood. I personally am of the opinion that she does not have the right to reject it because...
Wait, you don't think, just really quickly, Chips, you don't think parents can, you think parents have this obligation, but you don't think that they have the ability to transfer that obligation to somebody else?
I think it depends on the situation, obviously. If we're just talking, you need your mother, or else, the kid's just fucked, right? There's no helping, saving the kid. The mother is the only option right now, or else the kid will die. I think in that situation, the mother should, in all circumstances, help the kid.
So then, wait.
That's not what I'm asking. Sorry,
Right.
I'm not asking about you. You keep talking about like taking care of this kid. I'm not talking about feeding it. Right? I
Yes.
understand like the mother has a legal and moral obligation to provide for the child as long as she can, unless she's giving it to somebody else for adoption, whatever. That notwithstanding, like yes, feed the kid, bathe the kid,
Yes.
clothe the
Yes. Yes.
kid,
But
educate the
I
kid.
think
Sure, all
taking
of those
care of
things. I'm talking about literally sacrificing part of her body, giving them an organ, giving them blood. If their kid needs a liver transplant, is that mother required to give them her liver? If just assume, I know it's a ridiculous hypothetical, but like I'm trying
yes.
to get to the heart of the matter here. This kid is 15 years old. You got a middle school kid here. Do you have to give them a blood transfusion if they need one? Or are you not morally obligated to give them your body to sustain them?
To avoid inflating my answers like I have been previously, yes, I do believe that she has the moral obligation. She has to. I do not believe she has the right to reject
Okay,
at that age.
what about the dad? What about the dad? What if the
Same with
dad
the dad.
was compatible, the mom wasn't?
Yes, either
Okay,
one of the parents
so
have to. That is my belief. It doesn't have to be a mother.
okay,
Just anyone.
okay, great. Okay, so I'm glad we cleared that up because that completely changes everything. So you're
All
not
right.
saying that there are special rights for fetuses. You are completely against the concept of like, well, not completely against. Sorry, that's straw manning. You have the fundamental disagreement we're having is with bodily autonomy until your child is of a certain age. That's what the question is.
I think so. Yes.
So wait,
Okay, great.
just because maybe I'm confused about what you said earlier, then you're not for any abortions.
I am for abortion. I think people who don't want children should not be having children. They probably won't be good parents. They are probably not going, just in general, it's likely not going to be a good childhood. And this is a bit fucked up to say, but I think there's enough people on the planet. I don't think we just need to bring in more for the sake of saying that life is in jeopardy.
So
In regards to
So I'm taking notes of that.
So bodily autonomy is okay if it kills your child, but it's not okay before now you need to explain your stance here, because you're
Yes.
in the same breath you're saying
So-
that like a parent shouldn't be allowed bodily autonomy if that autonomy kills their kid, and now you're saying it's
okay, so you brought up, right, in the arguments earlier, right, you brought up 30-year-old, right, and then a 15-year-old, both of which are people, right, that like they've already gained whatever, they've lived life, you know, the 15-year-old still has a lot of life to live. They haven't even experienced what life is at that point. So I think that that person has a future, but if you have like a 5-month fetus, right, it's like not even like a conscious being. I think at that point it's completely fine. But what I'm trying to
Sure.
say is specifically for the
disagree.
latter trimester, right, the third, in the latter half of it, right, what's it called?
Can
Sorry
you
to
just
burp.
can you no, I get what you're saying. Can you just justify to me why that parent has that obligation now after this point? Like what changes that grants them this obligation that they now have to hold from that until 18?
The kid can survive outside of the womb. I think that is the factor I am looking at.
Sure, but that's part of the question. That's part of the question that was that. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead first.
No, I apologize. I think we're asking the same question. Is something you said stuck out to me? You said, "Well, that kid they have a future. If they're, if you're talking about a 15-year-old kid, the reason why the mother has no bodily autonomy here and has to give this kid an organ transplant, a blood transfusion, whatever, even at age 15, is because they have a future. What about the mother's future? What if someone is having a baby and they're pregnant and they are a minor themselves? Like, what about their future? Does that not matter? Do they not get a say in that because they're pregnant?
So a minor who got pregnant is probably going to want an abortion, and they're probably going to get it early. However, if for some reason, I think that's
let's say you have someone is 15 years old, they get pregnant, and then in third trimester, like you're talking about, the baby can survive and all, and they want an abortion. Whose future is most important here? Whose future do we prioritize?
I think that is a specific question that while it is an extreme case, because that is extremely young to have had a child and then to have kept it all the way up to third trimester and then finally choosing to not keep it.
It's young, but it's not unheard of.
especially in
yes, I
states
know
that
it's not
don't
unheard of.
allow,
It's
especially
just
for states that don't allow abortion for any reason, like Texas.
I don't know if I feel comfortable answering that because I think that is inherently a very emotional question.
Why?
Personally,
It's just a logic test.
Yeah,
it is,
see, this is
but the
the issue
thing
that I'm
it's
having, Chips, is that
specifically
like
about what's up?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep cutting you off. I'm just trying to keep on the point here because we've been going for 25 minutes. So the reason why I understand these are very extreme, hypothetical kind of some of the things I'm giving you are pretty fantastical here, right? The reason why
Yeah.
I'm giving these to you is just as kind of to stress test where your actual line is here, because my line is consistent across the board. Bodily autonomy, period. If you don't want to be pregnant, don't be pregnant, period. That's it. And so every single one of these situations, my answer is exactly the same. And it sounds like for you, you're having to create some rather arbitrary rules and distinctions about like, well, it's somewhere between 18 to 21 because it really depends on how emotionally mature and mentally mature they are, and if they can sustain themselves beyond their parents. And kids are staying at home now, and at the end of the day, you do have a moral obligation, but only at a certain point because they have a future. But if we're talking about the mother's future, then it seems more emotional, and like it sounds like you have a bunch of couches and caveats here, as opposed to a single declarative moral stance that you can apply universally.
I will admit that I see it more as a fluid than like a fluid type of situation than a pure like this is the rules and then we're going to stick to the rules purely. I think there are what's it called? I think there are things that don't apply. Like what's it called when something doesn't apply to the majority of cases? It's the exception. There it is. Sorry. I think there are exceptions that do need to have special rules applied to them. Like, for example, the 15-year-old, I think that they should probably have the abortion, like just in general.
I want to just point out,
I
I'm not
think-
really even worried about the abortion stance. I'm more interested in targeting on you think that somebody shouldn't be able to like put their kid up for adoption and stuff, and like that's the
What
stance
production?
that's actually the stance you have of like I don't think a parent should be able to like give up their obligation to their child until the child's 18. I'm more interested in that, like that, because it seems
All
that
right.
your abortion stance is pretty much in alignment with mine, where prior to 24 weeks, lethal abortions all day. Who cares? After 24 weeks, do abortions that prioritize the life of the fetus, unless like medically you can't. It's just weird to me that then you have this line of parents have to stay obligated to their kids 100% all the time, and they can't remove that obligation after the child's born.
So I am kind of a hardliner for like strong parenthood. Like I personally think that if you have a kid, this is not like something that like this is like a decision that you make. You are bringing an entirely new life into this world. This person entirely depends on you. Like literally just like in every way in terms of nurture, nature, just everything. You are bringing a living person, a living, breathing person with like a potential future and like effects on the world and other like things and experiences. You are bringing such a huge thing into the world. And I think that is a devotion to this life that you have to take by having a child. So that is why I'm saying that.
No.
It sounds to me like you're making this. I'm sorry. It sounds to me like that's a very like weirdly utilitarian, like the longest life years possible type thing. Because like at the end of the day, we're talking about, well, what about the mother's future? And that was a completely different concept for you that you weren't interested in touching on. But you have this hard line of like, well, if you're going to be pregnant, you need to have the fucking kid. Because that child has all this potential and all this. It sounds like you're just deciding to prioritize the youngest person in all cases, even if that person hasn't even been born yet. They have the most potential life, therefore they are the one who takes priority in terms of like rights and bodily autonomy.
So what I specifically said was emotionally questionable was specifically the age. It was not the status of them being a mother. because I did not specifically refer to the idea of the mother having it. I specifically referred to the fact that the exact type of question is something that a lot of people have very strong emotions on, because there's a lot of people who have been SA'd to have that child. There's a lot of people who've made, I think it's a very, like, the specific requirements for there to be an underage minor pregnancy, that in and of itself is the emotional factor, not the fact that she is the mother.
Okay,
That is
well,
why I did not feel comfortable.
Okay, well,
well, I do, Chips. We do have to end the conversation there. Somebody did pay to move on.
All right, sounds good.
But yeah, I guess it's been a good conversation.
All right, cool. See ya.
I think, like, Chips, I would encourage you just to, like, dig in a little bit more and trying to find, like, actual concrete lines, because it sounds to me like you are drawing, like, kind of like, I don't want to delude your argument and say that it's just feel good things, but it sounds like you're kind of taking this very case by case basis that really makes it arbitrary. And whether or not you have a good moral ground here, making it an arbitrary thing rather than like a universal thing, that to me just doesn't resonate. So I would love to talk to you some more about it, and maybe we can find more common ground.
Sounds good. You guys have a good day.
You too.
Thanks, Chips. Have a good day, Chips.
Thank you guys for watching, and shout out to my YouTube members. Their names appear on the side. Membership starts at $2.99 and gets you access to early videos, uncensored videos, and members-only content. Also, shout out to Tier 4 members Bamji, Matthew Holloway, Vampy, Kelsey Dooley, Kelsey K, Jake, Marceline, and Yemye. Tier 4 members get to help choose debate topics, and their contributions go a long way to helping me create higher quality content for all of you. Remember to subscribe for your daily dose of leftist debates, and I'll see you in the next video.